Here's another Explorer tape from the recording files of research at the Monroe Institute. For those of you who have not heard, this recording is of a verbal communication between an individual in a sensory isolation chamber, who we call an Explorer, and the monitoring technician in a nearby control room. The Explorer has moved into another state of consciousness using methods developed by the Institute. No drugs, chemicals, or other electrical stimulation are used in these methods. However, the method does incorporate a synchronization of brainwave patterns in each hemisphere by a series of sound pulses. So, here is Explorer JCA, a professional in mental health services, reporting in.
First of all, I went flying over a city, and I tried very hard to go visit my parents and Ray, and I felt like I was there briefly, but then snatched away. I felt like my presence were in both places, but it was not meant for me to stay. And I went back, I returned to the world that I usually go to, and I met Father Time. It was really neat. It was a little old man, and I asked him who he was. He has a long white beard, and he said Father Time, and I said, "You got to be kidding me." He says, "No," and I said, "Well, you look human, and why are you here?" Oh, he said he's a guide to help people like me to see past and future, to be aware of it, past and future. And so it gave me a flashback of past, and then I saw future of the earth, and the future of the earth was like the past, in that the whole earth was just scorched, burnt. Everything was black, and there was nothing green, nothing pretty. And the couple of people that I saw were like cavemen, not cavemen, they were more like animal-like. And I said, why? Why is this happening? Or why will that happen? And is there anything to prevent it? And he said, the reason it's going to happen is there's too much hate and hostility. And the only way to prevent it is for us to be thinking more about the arts and love and creative things, and less about war and hating each other and disliking one another. And I asked, somehow we got on to life, and he said to be paying more attention to the mind and where it can go, and not to prevent dying, but all the changes in medicine, or the things that happen in medicine, should help people ease pain, because our bodies, as we know it, just can't handle pain very well. But never to prevent dying. And I said, well, what about the transplants? And he said that transplants, the technique, or developing the techniques, are really in reality to help people to develop their minds and to know how the body is constructed. But he's very concerned with the fact that the transplants are causing people to pay so much attention to keeping the body alive, but not the mind. And the mind is still being ignored. Maybe I should wait around for someone else, or go see someone else. I'll tell you in a few minutes.
Time lapse 32 seconds.
I've met, I guess I'd best describe him as little pygmy with monkey-like faces, very cute and very friendly, who say that there must have been about 5 of them, who just kind of circled around me, who said that they're there to help, and that don't laugh at this, but they see me as a humanitarian leader in the world in the future. And they also told me that there are presence on Venus, ethereal presence they called them, very intelligent, very clever, and definitely Earth's friends, but that the folks, and who can also procreate, but that the folks on Mars are Earth's enemy. They're hostile. Their intent is to make Earthlings aware of other people's presence beyond the Earth, but at the same time, when they come to visit Earth, they're the ones who take people's other bodies back to Mars, because they have no other way to increase their population. They don't need the physical bodies, they need the non-physical bodies.
Was there any instruction as to how we could perceive these ones from Mars?
No, somehow that doesn't seem important right now, like that information will come. And it just feels kind of nice to be in the space, just in space with these little fellows around, these little creatures around, and it's just something to come, but nothing, that we could do about it right now or make it any faster.
Very good. So you just relax and breathe and proceed just as you have to during your report.
When I go anyplace else, I feel like I need to absorb this information first. So I guess I better come back.
And in another session, here was JCA with more on her green men.
Oh, I've been talking to my green man. I'm practicing going up and down to where they are. And I found out why he has this green robe. Because he said that he doesn't need it, but that I need it to make me more comfortable in communicating with him. And he says I still have some fears, and so he still wants me to feel more comfortable with going in and out of my body. Yeah, I want to see if I can talk to him some more. We just kind of sat down and talked about me and where I'm at. He told me that he's my overseer. And he's responsible for my growth and development. other than he said he was my overseer. The contact in that reality or that personality. Apparently he's been through a lot of different lives and lifetimes, and I'm not sure whether I'm part of him or not. I feel very comfortable here. It's really like where I belong. And I felt this before. Oh, last several times I met the green, call my green man. He's not really a green man. Green entity, whatever. I want to keep coming back here. I think I made some progress because this time I didn't need any other folks to help me. I was just there seeing them. More like a vote of confidence than anything else. A little discussion earlier when I asked him what he was doing here, and he said, here, that's something that you're trying to pinpoint to. Here isn't. Here doesn't matter. I don't know why, but I really feel very tired. I feel like I'm ready to come back. Suddenly I noticed it. Yeah. Before that, it was like a flash. And before that, I didn't notice, thought it was dark in here. Yeah, I was surprised because it was just like a flash of light that came on. It was weird.
Debriefing.
Yeah, we have to, do the communication we're doing now many times during the day. And we're living several lives simultaneously. And we have to become more aware of those other lives and integrate it into one. That the sound that you're using now, we've got to learn to communicate with lower sound and eventually without any sound. So it's perfectly quiet because sometimes the sound distracts us and takes us away from communicating. And that more people need to come to the lab to learn how to communicate. And yeah, he put me in a void, like I was completely surrounded by darkness, and my mind was just floating. I really couldn't feel a body, but just my mind. And to really feel comfortable with being in void or blackness, or not to be frightened by it, but to get used to floating like that. And that there are also higher levels of communication that I need to learn, that I need to be aware of, to pay less attention to my body and more attention to my mind. In fact, we all should. And that's why it came about practicing, or not so much practicing, but allowing your mind to do that, allowing your mind to go to this state several times or many times during the day.
You might call this the education of JCA, and in another session, that education continued.
The first message I got was that I've graduated to a new level of communication. That's as far as I've gotten. I shouldn't say new, I should say next level. Being together or meeting my other personalities. And that I was just radiating where I was or am mentally. And so I went back to that feeling or place or whatever. And it was really a groovy feeling. It was really very peaceful. Really like it was part of a whole. And my guide was there and just kind of smiling, like, a very satisfactory kind of smile. It was really neat. I'm going to meet, or I was told, or felt like I was going to meet my other personalities and feel the togetherness. But then I went back to a feeling of gloom, like something dreadful was happening or going to happen. Of seeing an ugly side, what I would consider an ugly side of part of my personality, a really mean part of me, that I have to deal with, that I have to come to terms with. I mean, this other personality is living in another place or another time, but, integrating it is going to be difficult, and that's part of the gloom is the realization that I have that personality to put together into the whole. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be a happy time. It can be done, and if the glimpse of this other personality is really what I see right now, she sure is ugly. I mean, and my guide's here while I'm watching all this, while I'm realizing all this. See what I would consider or describe as a witch, and I asked him where or when, or he said in my terminology she would be living in medieval times, and she hurt people, and she tortured people. She was really mean to people. She had no feeling for people. And it's my other lives since then have been living through or trying to deal with this hatred. Seems like I've been making the most success of my present lifetime, or this lifetime here. And that's why I'm being told of this other life. Am I being called... They just told me that my being called a witch it was really true. I really was a witch. But not a witch with... Oh, I had powers. And I really did hurt people with those powers. I really did. Powers that made people die or made them... All I can just see is suffering. I can see this personality just screaming and screeching at people, making them physically and mentally hurt. I mean, she didn't do anything kind for people. She really hated them. She could put horrible thoughts in people's heads. She could turn just an ordinary drink into poison. She could make people feel like they were going crazy. Make them go crazy. I don't quite understand this. She used them. She drained them off from the whole personality. She made the decision of making or trying to utilize this energy for bad things to see how far they would go. It was like she was aware. She really was aware of the power and that they could be used for good. Kind of makes sense. Apparently, I radiate energy, but I don't realize that I radiate this energy, except for one thing that I know that I say to people, and that is always expect the most of people that you work with or you deal with, so that everyone will realize is greatest potential. And that when I say that, I really am in the process of radiating energy to the person I'm speaking to, so he really feels like he can do that he not only can and should be developing himself more to realize his own potential, but the people he works with. And that it's like I need to capitalize on that more, to really work with that more. Like that's just a natural thing, and people really do feel that when I tell them that. the first response is that I have an aversion to that, but that I could do that. I could do that. In fact, I do that unconsciously. And when for example, when I say things about jobs that I like to have, I'm really making that job. I'm going to make that job available. But I kind of keep my distance. I kind of send it out to maybe a group of people or a couple of people, but I'm really going to make that happen. I can make it happen. I could do that. Maybe sometimes overcautious because I don't want any any badness to come from it or hurt to come from it. And I can do more. When I want to send or give a thought to somebody, that I need to think about it and plan to know what the possible consequences are, because I can do it. But right now, I'm very reluctant to do all this thinking. I'm kind of lazy about it. And so the easiest way is not to do anything. And I really do. I can send those messages, but before I send them, I should, really think about it. And plan and know that's really the way I want to go, or the really way, something should go. But I could do that. And then I wanted to talk to him more about this personality and personalities and oneness and where it's all going. And I could see communication happening on different levels to the point of, that there is one overall personality from which, or one being, or, one, if you just want to say that, from which we all come from. And as we proceed in our level of understanding, we will gradually incorporate ourselves into this oneness.
And that ends that particular session, but there's more to come if you turn your cassette over and play it on the other side. And we continue now with the education of JCA through many different sources.
There's psychic work here, but we're more sensitive again to our environment. And our environment, with a lot of man-made materials, saps our energy, takes away from our energy. And I guess I went back and got a little bit more energy. And then I was starting to talk to my guide about nutrition and what I could do about my energy. And his biggest suggestion or recommendation is that I must start and should start walking in areas where there are lots of trees with leaves, not pine trees, and that I can get a lot of energy from those trees and from the grass. And definitely it's got to be in a field or in the woods. And it's even better when there are a few trees around rather than a lot of trees around. The other thing, I was curious about oceans. Could I get energy from oceans? Because oceans seem to be fairly relaxing to me. And he said oceans at high tide give you energy, but ocean, when it's at low tide, draws energy from you. So if you're at a low time, or if you're feeling kind of yucky, to be around an ocean at low tide is not a good idea at all. Sun provides a unique kind of energy, and it appears to be especially good for those people in psychic healing. Psychic healing and the sun seem to go very much together. I guess I need to do a little bit more exploring and then report back.
Time lapse 1 minute.
It's okay for me to be around large groups of people for a short period of time, but not around large groups of people for a long period of time. It's too confining, and it's not good for my physical health. And he's really concerned about my physical health.
Ask your guide this question. Ask him what structure or what relationship there is between plant, animal, and human life, human physical life, and what structure, if anything, there is before and after human physical life.
Okay, well, I need to tell you something that he was doing to me while to help me with this headache. He was asking me to focus on a white light, very much like the white light that's in some of the earlier tapes. And then as you focus on this light, let it explode. So the light just bathes your upper part of your head where the headache is. And he did that for several times. And it seemed to help.
You could perceive a reaction.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, now let me work on this other question. See if I can get this straight. Animals, plants, and humans are all souls. Plants can be considered simple souls. Animals, most animals, next in complexity, and then humans, the most complex souls. As part of your soul, like Jane Roberts said, oversoul or personality, you may have plants and animals and human forms making up that total personality. That may explain why humans have a certain preference for a certain type of dog or certain type of plants that they like or dislike, because it may actually be part of your overall personality. Trees that have lived for a long, long time, although they may be considered simple souls, are also receivers of information from their environment that surrounds them, information that's given to the personality. Animals, my guide is saying that he and other guides who have pretty much integrated personalities are studying the effect of what happens when humans eat animals that have a little bit less complexity in terms of their soul, and what does that combination do to the humans? In some areas, the combination of humans eating animals does not help in the development of the human mind, but actually hinders. And it appears that human minds and bodies benefit primarily by eating the simpler souls, plants. At death of any of an animal or a tree or a plant, rather a human being, is again being reintegrated to the larger personality, kind of getting a reevaluation of where that personality's at and what areas they need to explore or to change or to improve upon, trying to reach the highest in the way of truth, knowledge, and beauty. Does that make sense?
Yes, that helps much. What then is the progress? Is there any real structure to this, or does it just happen naturally, or are there patterns to it?
Apparently, one pattern that's emerging is that animals are getting better development of their brains, as our humans are getting better development of their brains, and both animals and humans are looking to plants for food. And the plants seem to be the stabilizing part in the environment in terms of energy systems. They receive and they give, and that helps both animals and humans in their development. In fact, plants can be considered as a catalyst.
What happens when a human stops being in physical life? In other words, going through what we know as death. Does he just simply become another human again, or what?
Now, first of all, he checks in with the big personality to find out kind of a reevaluation of what he has learned in his human life, and what that information has done for the larger personality. I mean, has it contributed, or has it detracted, or has it raised more questions? And if more questions are raised, or it has taken away from the larger personality, then the larger personality then decides, well, will this person become plant, animal, or another human to try to either answer those unanswered questions or to gain what they lost.
Can, for example, an animal become a human?
Yeah, and the next time around, because it's a soul that decides the development. So the animal's soul goes back to the personality, and even that soul evaluates what it has learned. And the next time around, that soul may decide to be more complex and to be human, to answer some of the questions that it couldn't answer when it was an animal.
Would a human become an animal?
Yep.
Under what conditions would that take place?
Oh, we have animals here which have been human and actually can think and conceptualize as a human mind can. But their perspective, of course, is animal, nonverbal, unless it's encouraged to speak or to talk. But it's nonverbal with no need to verbalize. And maybe sometimes humans come back into animal forms to either verify information or to get a new perspective on what it things it has learned.
I see. Suppose one does not want to come back and be a human again, then what?
The soul doesn't have any problems with what it would be, whether it be animal or human. I mean, the individual soul doesn't have a preference as such. It sees it as a job to be done in terms of learning. I mean, if the oversoul, the large personality, decides it needs more information about being a plant, then the soul becomes a plant. And maybe with some specific instructions to interact with different kinds of plants and different types of soil, or with different kind of human beings, because they're experimenting. What type of human being can be developed to give that person the awareness of true knowledge, love and beauty and all these things? I mean, can such an individual be developed? And therefore that individual, that human individual, may be that personality. In other words, that oversoul, that personality, may get to the point where it's gotten so much knowledge, so much information, that it actually is able to combine itself into one form, whatever that may be, and actually show itself here on this planet, on this earth.
Is this activity peculiar to the planet Earth, or are there other such systems at work?
Oh no, there are other systems at work throughout the universe, with different atmospheres and with conditions that are changed, with the form of life change. All a big experimentation, and therefore you may even be on one planet one lifetime and another planet another lifetime. Be aware of possibly living in another planet at another time, or at the same time, rather.
At the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Ask your guide if you are living on another planet at the same time.
Yep, and it's very cold. It's cold, and there's no air like we have it. And in fact, I'm really low to the ground, kind of like a blob. Doesn't seem to be much around either. Freezing conditions. Communication isn't talking, it's kind of not squeaking, but squealing. And there isn't anything such as day and night. Although we blobs don't seem to mind that.
Does the blob have intelligence as we know it?
Oh yeah, I can feel my mind and my brain just like I can feel it here. Just that my form's entirely different.
It's the same amount of intelligence then.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have a, in this other one, do you have mechanical contrivances such as we developed here?
No. In fact, the diet is liquid. It's a liquid diet.
Do they have names?
I got blurp and blop. That's kind of...
That's a good one.
Yeah. Blurp and blop. He gets.
Ask your guide if he has ever been in physical human form.
Yes, man. I mean, as a man, apparently as a quite handsome young man.
Well, when was this? Where?
First snow ride out was 1938, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Apparently he found his way all around. He was just down for a short time. He didn't stay too long.
Why did he come down for a short time?
He just wanted to see what it was like. He just wanted to experience. Apparently he's a very, very old soul. And is pretty well integrated. And the time that soul was spent on Earth was a long time ago. And apparently no one had been, had taken on human form for thousands of years. And so he wanted just to come and just kind of play around and see what it was like. He really enjoyed himself.
Was he born as any other human was born?
Nope, he just kind of appeared.
Oh, I see.
No, he didn't want to grow up as a baby. He just wanted to be here as an adult.
How did he first appear? What method did he use to do this?
He just said that he wanted to take on physical form, and he described exactly the kind of form he wanted to take. And his energy just made him into that. And he just appeared in the middle of a street in a big city and proceeded on his way with money in his pocket.
Can we use some form of that same technique while still in our physical form?
Well, we have a refiner energy system like he has. And this is one of the reasons maybe we spend some time on energy and nutrients and taking walks and getting energy. We're going to have to build our energy system. We could make changes with the way we look right now.
How?
Younger or slimmer or whatever.
How could we learn to do this?
Well, what he's saying is that the information is there, we're just not taking advantage of it. Like when he tells him to go walk around in the field with a few trees. I mean, if I did that, that would help. If I would pay attention to the food that I eat and listen to my mind and not my body as to whether or not that food's going to do me some good, it would be better. I would do better. But pretty much, I've conditioned myself, my body to my eating habits depending on what my body tells me rather than what my mind tells me. And you've got to understand, you've got to realize, you've got to fully believe that your mind has control over your body. If your mind says you don't need to eat, you don't need to eat.
Do these possibilities apply to others, not just you?
Oh yeah, everybody. You too.
Me too.
Yep, you too.
How can I develop myself into a younger, active, energy-filled body?
Okay, when a plate of food is set before you, listen to your mind as to what you should eat on that plate. Not your body, which may say to you you should eat everything, or to society or tradition or culture that says you should eat everything because that's a polite thing to do. Just eat those things that your mind says will make you feel healthier, will make you feel younger, have more energy. There are energy foods. Green things are energy foods. Yellow vegetables, not as much energy food. Too much food that's cooked too long is not energy food. But your mind can really pick these out. Water, while it's not an energy food, is a good transmitter of energy. Makes everything go through all parts of your body. So you definitely should drink lots of water because it's a transmitter of energy. Nuts is a good thing, but nuts would be better without so much salt. Like your just fresh nuts.
How can we learn better use of the energy itself, better application of it, better growth of it, manipulation of it?
First of all, we need to build up the energy in our bodies. I mean, some people, going out of body is one application of energy. Directing thoughts to other people is one way of directing energy. And we're constantly sending or receiving energy from one another, except we don't pay attention to it all the time. And we should pay more attention to it. It's also important to eat in a very peaceful, simple surroundings.
All right.
And never with a lot of noise. Because that really disrupts your system.
Is there any noise or music or sound that we can add that would enhance the eating procedure?
First I got pink noise, and then I got chanting sounds in the background. Are very peaceful and quieting, and give you maximum benefit of the energy that you eat. In fact, you should eat more with your fingers and less with utensils, because the utensils take some of the energy away. And a lot of bass sound. Bass sound is also very good. Low sounds. Low bass sounds.
And there you have it, part of the process of the education and training of an explorer. Only a small part of the total experience of JCA, and the most important areas of education certainly not originating from us, here. Intelligent animals, blobs on some distant planet, a guide that materialized on a city street just for the fun of it. And today, JCA looks younger, brighter, more beautiful than she did 5 years ago. Well, this is Robert Monroe saying, I'll see you around, I hope.